never too young to be put to work. Right, Lukey?
Yeah.
What are you doing over there? You got a shovel over here. Not over behind the snowbank.
I'm getting a big snowbank. Oh, the shovel. I want to warm up.
You want to warm up already? You've been out here for 37 seconds. Okay, let's go warm up. Welcome back. I am Kurt and I am your family farmer. Well, we got our first big snowfall of the year that is actually going to stick around for probably months now. But my son and I were able to get out in the skid steer and we were able to get some snow moved today. Ain't that right, Luke? Sitting in the chair warming up after a hard evening's work. So there's more in the forecast, but up next is some bitterly cold temperatures. Highs in the negatives over the next 7 to 10 days. So that'll be a good time, but it appears that there are no more major snowstorms in the forecast. There is one more piece of machinery that I forgot to mention in my last video when I went over all the machinery that I had just recently purchased and that I own. So that piece of machinery that I forgot to talk about is this tractor right here. This is what I believe to be, and I cannot tell for sure because the serial number has worn away over time due to the battery acid over the years falling on it. But I believe this is to be a 1958 or a 1959 Ford 851 PowerMaster diesel. These tractors right here were built between the years of 1957 through I believe 1961. So after doing quite a bit of research and really trying to pinpoint a price target for these older tractors to find out the value of what it was worth, well, I ended up paying way too much for it, but I did get it. This has a 4-cylinder 172 cubic inch diesel engine, and you could have purchased this tractor brand new in 1957 for $3,207. So I got it off the trailer, and over the next couple days I had to monkey around with the wiring. All the wiring was chewed up. It was just a disaster. So I got that figured out, and I tried and I tried and I tried to get this to fire up. All to no avail. It was a huge waste of time. So I made the big decision that I was just gonna tear into it. I was gonna take this engine completely apart, and so I did. And to nobody's surprise, when I finally got this tractor all taken apart, the engine was all in the pieces. There were some pretty obvious problems that it was never gonna start from the beginning. The first big issue that I noticed was there was a blown head gasket between two of the cylinders. They looked in pretty rough shape. It was pretty charred out, pretty rough looking. So as I continued deeper, I found another very critical problem. And that problem was I had a connecting rod that looked like the letter C. It was in very rough shape. The thing was bent. I could tell the motor probably hasn't been ran in years. The tractor, you could tell, was sitting outside. There were clear signs of that. After doing a little bit of research on these particular Ford motors, Ford decided they would use the same engine block that they were using in the gasoline tractors for the diesel tractors. So with the much higher compression rate on the diesel, there were things that were kind of doomed from the beginning. It was a good motor, but their crankshafts were also a big issue. This one has actually their original crankshaft in it, and then it appeared to be in good shape, but it just couldn't take the compression. So therefore, that was why I was seeing that bent connecting rod in there. Also, from learning a little bit more of these, the bent connecting rod could have been, and probably was, from a hard starting tractor where they decided to use plenty of ether on. Therefore, having that big explosion in there, all of a sudden, that's my guess, is something happened there. So once I realized what some of the major issues were with this tractor, I was able to track down a connecting rod. I used one, I believe it was off of a Ford Dextra, I believe. But anyway, I found one of them. I ordered a bunch of parts online and I went to work. I replaced bearings, I replaced springs, I replaced gaskets, seals, bushings, bearings. I had the head machined. I brought the whole head, I brought that in to get remachined. And I also had the cylinders honed out at a local machine shop. I pretty much did everything short of putting new sleeves in this tractor. That could have been a mistake, but based on some of the experience of the guys at the local machine shop, they kind of talked me out of it. Also, since the tractor was already split, I decided to just totally redo the clutch. So I also did that. Brand new clutch on this. So I assembled this tractor back to the best of my ability. I did it very tediously. This is the first time that I've really taken an engine apart and dissected what was wrong and tried to put it back together. It's been a huge learning experience for me. So I'm really banking on taking that experience and going forward to do this with other Ford tractors especially. But if you're ever hesitant and just want to, sometimes you just got to dive into it. Just get wrenching, get right on it and start learning. So that's what I decided to do. So I was able to get the motor completely back together. I was able to get the tractor put together so it wasn't split anymore, but I also did quite a few other things to this. I got new brakes in the back. I redid the front axle pin because those are notorious on these models to just get worn out over time. Probably not the best design, but they did it for years and it's a major problem. Also, I had the fuel injectors gone through. Those costs, I believe those were $45 to get those sent in and they could get those cleaned out and spraying properly. I also had the radiator gone through. That turned out to be actually in good shape. Didn't really need much done to it. I also, I don't know, how old is this tractor? 70 years old. Things just get worn out. So there are a lot of weird things that kind of just wear out over time that need to be remachined and redone. I am a machinist by trade, so I decided to do a few things. Like right here on the clutch pedal, this whole shaft I had to redo. I had to put a cap on it. Otherwise, this pedal was just a wobbling back and forth. It was such a pain in the butt. It just wasn't working. Now I got it perfectly machined with a new stainless steel shaft and a new stainless steel cap to prevent the pedal from rocking back and forth. Kind of going back to getting those injectors rebuilt, there is one thing that I have skipped out on so far. That is the fuel injection pump. I have decided not to do that. I haven't seen any issues with it in some of the testing that I've done. I'm taking a little bit of a gamble waiting this long into the process to try to get this thing started without going through that. The main reason is cost. I'm trying to keep the cost down on it. So I'm really hoping that won't cause a problem in the future, because if it is, I will have to send it in and that'll cost money. Believe me when I say that this tractor here behind me was not supposed to take this long. We're going on 2.5 years now. Life gets in the way. So this thing has been sitting. I haven't really even looked at it in well over a year. Now is the time of year, going in the very cold months of January and February, that I really hope to jump on this thing. There's a few things that need to get done to get it going. Fuel, I need to get the fuel figured out on this. Also, I need to get the wiring figured out on this. Neither of those two should be too bad. This thing really, hopefully, isn't that far away from at least getting it started and popped off. Hopefully get it running this winter, but I'm really not too hopeful on that. I know what my schedule looks like and with work and the farm and all that stuff. I'm trying my darndest. This would be really a cool thing to finally get done, but we'll see. But like I said, over the next month or two are gonna tell me a lot. If I can just hunker down for a few weekends and try to get this thing going. I am sure a lot of you can relate to that. You tell your wife you're gonna buy a project, you'll get it done this winter, right? Well, 2, 3, 4 years later, you're sitting in the same darn spot you were earlier. That's okay. I'd much rather spend the time with my wife and kids than be out here most of the time, but it is nice to get away and get wrenching. I currently do have parts on order, so I'm waiting for a few of those to get in. Most of that has to do with the fuel and electrical systems, just like I had mentioned, to try to get that going, but I'm trying. So we'll get it. Maybe you'll see a little bit more in the next couple videos, maybe me tinkering around on this, but I'm waiting for those parts to come in. We'll see. That being said, I would be lying to you if I said I didn't have way too much money into this tractor, because I do. Just ask my wife. But this is one of my favorite tractors ever made. I kind of grew up driving one very similar. It wasn't a diesel. It was a little bit of earlier model of the 800 series, but I've always liked it. I like the way they look when they're finished. I don't really know what I'm going to do for paint on it. I'm putting it all together and I'll probably send it in to get painted, to be honest with you. I don't have the time, the facilities to do as good a paint job as I would like on this. So in the future, send it out, spend some more money. This tractor right here is literally probably, I will say it is. It's got to be the only piece of machinery that I have splurged on, where I have more money into it than it's worth. Now, some might come close, but generally, as a beginning farmer, I have to find the deals. I can't pay full price for it. I have to go out, get lucky at auctions, do a little research to hopefully get lucky at these auctions. Keep an eye on Craigslist. You never know when somebody's going to get rid of it. That's the key to being a young farmer. Spend money on the land and the property and try to keep your machinery costs down as much as you can, whether that means buying used machinery or maintaining the machinery you have. That would be my advice to any of you young farmers out there, is you don't need the big expensive machinery. Use that money on the land. With all that being said, I am actually off. I am going to be off to go buy some T-posts that I actually found on Facebook Marketplace. So why don't you guys come along with me and let's go get them. Another Facebook Marketplace find. Being beginner farmers, one thing you got to keep an eye out for is equipment and products and anything that you're going to use, from fence posts to tractors. You need to find it at a good price. So right here I bought 61 6.5 foot post T-posts, and I paid about I think it came out to be about $2.80 a piece. Which is a huge savings, because the nearest fleet store in our area will sell them brand new to you for $6.49 a piece. I just don't have the means or the money to buy things at full market value, so I have to look to find them cheap and used. These may be used, but you can hardly tell. They look pretty much brand new. There's nothing wrong with them. One or two of them might be bent, but other than that, they're perfectly fine, and I save about just under $4 a piece for each of them. So if you're a beginning farmer out there, somebody that can't afford all the big fancy equipment, you have to keep an eye out for the used stuff. You have to jump on the deals that come up there, because they do come up. Both Craigslist and Facebook deals will come up. You just got to be fast and tell the guy you're going to get to him right away, and then you're going to pay cash. If I were to buy these on a local consignment sale, I would say I'd probably be paying anywhere from $3.50 a piece to $4 up to $4.50 a piece. I hope you guys enjoyed all that content, running around with me to go get those T-posts, checking out that tractor here you see behind me. It's really hopefully been a good time for you guys. If you haven't seen our prior videos, please check it out, especially that last one. The last one has been hugely successful, way more successful than I ever could imagine at this point. That's thanks to you guys. Thank you so much for subscribing and hitting that like button. Please check out those prior videos and look forward to our next videos, as we will be getting hopefully one out every week. Until then, I'll see you guys later.